Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in your journey when you're staring at closed doors, unanswered prayers, and dreams that seem to sleep while you lie awake. You ask yourself, why not now? Why not me? And in that silence, I want you to know this. You'll see this when God knows you're ready to see it. See, what you're longing for is not just about having it. It's about holding it well. Some blessings require hands that have first known what it is to be empty. Some doors demand that you become someone new before they open. It's not punishment. It's preparation. There's a truth that often escapes us in the rush of life. Divine timing is perfect. Not good, not sometimes right, but perfect. It's a difficult thing to accept when you're in the thick of your waiting season, when you're grinding, pushing, praying, and still things don't seem to be moving. It feels like you're doing everything right, being kind, staying faithful, staying disciplined, and yet the thing you long for is still out of reach. But here's the truth. What you want may not be ready for you, or more importantly, you may not yet be ready for it. See, life is not just about desire. It's about development. And there's a deep difference between being available and being prepared. You can want a thing with your whole heart and still not have the strength, the wisdom, or the character to carry it. And a blessing given too soon isn't a blessing. It's a burden. A gift that arrives before you're mature enough to receive it can hurt more than help. That's why timing matters. That's why the delay isn't a denial. It's a design. Sometimes what feels like a closed door is actually a divine wall, keeping you from stepping into something that would have crushed the version of you that exists today. You think you're ready, but God sees the pieces of you that still need healing. He sees the wounds you don't talk about, the lessons you haven't yet learned, the patterns that would sabotage what you're praying to receive. So instead of handing you the opportunity, He hands you the process. A slow, refining, quiet process that builds what you'll need to stand when the moment finally comes. There's something sacred about being hidden. We live in a world that glorifies being seen, being celebrated, being known. But sometimes God will keep you hidden on purpose. Not to punish you, but to protect you. Because visibility without stability is dangerous. Because if you step into the spotlight before your roots are deep, the pressure will break you. But when you've been shaped in the silence, when your character has been carved out in the stillness, you can stand in places other people collapse in. And let me tell you something else. God doesn't operate on your clock. He doesn't panic when you're impatient. He isn't swayed by your timeline. He knows the weight of what He's preparing you for, and He knows what it's going to take to carry it. He sees the bigger picture. He knows the people your purpose will touch, the lives your calling will change, the impact your obedience will make. So, He's not rushing this. He's taking His time because He's not just building the blessing, He's building you. You have to trust that. Even when it hurts, even when you're tired, even when you see others walking into their moments while you're still sitting in your preparation. It's hard, yes. But you don't know what it took for them to get there. And you don't know what their assignment is. Your journey is tailored. Your path is specific. What's meant for you won't miss you, and it won't arrive until you're ready to receive it with grace, wisdom, and strength. So take heart. Keep showing up. Keep being faithful in the small things. Keep learning, growing, healing, and refining. because your time is coming. And when it does, it will make sense. The waiting, the tears, the silence, it will all come into focus. You'll look back and thank God He didn't give it to you when you asked for it. You'll realize He was never withholding. It was always about preparation. You'll see it when you're ready to see it. Not a second too soon, and not a moment too late. Divine timing is not just perfect, it's personal, and it's always right. There's something deeply powerful about preparation that happens in silence. Before every major unveiling in life, there's a behind the scenes process that nobody claps for. No spotlight, no applause, just you, your growth, your discipline, and the quiet presence of something greater than yourself shaping you for what's coming. And that right there is the essence of what it means to be made ready before something is revealed to you. The truth is, you're being shaped in ways you don't always understand because the weight of what's ahead of you requires strength you haven't fully developed yet. That's not a critique. That's love. That's protection. That's purpose. We often want the revelation before the refinement. We want the outcome without the process. But life doesn't work that way. Destiny doesn't operate like fast food. You don't just ask, wait 2 minutes, and get handed what you ordered. Purpose is cooked slowly, carefully, with intention. Because what you're being called into isn't just about you. It's about everyone who will be affected by the way you carry it. So, if you're being prepared behind closed doors, in private places, it's not because you've been forgotten. It's because God honors the foundation more than the facade. There are things in life that you can't rush. A tree must take root before it bears fruit. A building must have its foundation set before it touches the sky. You may want the visibility of success, the platform, the recognition, but none of that matters if your character can't support the weight. So instead of giving you the spotlight too soon, you're being handed tools. Tools that teach you resilience. Tools that teach you patience. Tools that strengthen your identity. So when you arrive at the moment meant for you, you don't fall apart under the pressure. And trust me, pressure will come, but so will your preparation. We often hear people say things like, I wasn't ready for this. And that statement usually doesn't come from a lack of desire. It comes from a lack of preparation. That's why it's so critical that you don't fight the seasons that feel slow or hidden. They are not wasted. They are where you're learning things that success won't teach you. Failure, discipline, waiting, these are the classrooms of greatness. These are where the internal muscles are built. Not for show, but for endurance. Because the life you're stepping into will require more than excitement. It'll require endurance. And endurance is only born in places where nothing seems to be happening on the surface. You may feel overlooked. You may feel like your talents, your heart, your efforts are being ignored. But what if I told you you're not being overlooked? You're being developed. What if the delay is the very thing that's protecting your destiny? There's a version of you that your future requires, and it's not who you are right now. It's who you're becoming. And the becoming happens in the stretching, the waiting, the rehearsals, the small assignments, the quiet. Yes, when no one is watching. Every great person you admire has gone through this. There's not a single story of impact that didn't start in obscurity. The mistake we make is thinking the preparation is the punishment. It's not. It's the proving ground. It's where humility is forged. It's where your identity is secured, so you're not defined by the success when it comes. Because if you let your gift take you somewhere your character isn't ready to go, you'll end up losing what you fought so hard to gain. So let yourself be molded. Let yourself be refined. Learn the lessons that the silent seasons are teaching you. Don't despise the process. It's sacred. It's where you meet yourself. It's where you confront the things that can't go with you into the next season. It's where you become trustworthy, not just talented. It's where you learn to honor the vision without needing it to validate you. That's what real preparation looks like. It's not glamorous, but it's everything. Because one day, that door will open, the call will come, the opportunity will present itself. And when it does, you'll walk in with a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're not lucky, you're ready. And in that moment, you'll realize this is why it took so long. Because you weren't just waiting, you were being shaped. And what's more, you let it happen. That's the power of preparation before revelation. The phrase, delayed is not denied, is more than just comfort. It's a spiritual truth. It's a reminder that what hasn't happened yet isn't gone. It's just not now. But we live in a world that equates delay with failure, postponement with punishment, and waiting with weakness. That's the lie. The truth is, delay is often divine. It's intentional. It's purposeful. And more importantly, it's protective. When you are walking in purpose, delay is never random. It's calculated. There is something being aligned, prepared, shifted, or matured, either in the promise or in you. It's natural to feel frustrated when things don't happen on your timeline. You look around and see others moving forward. They're getting the opportunities, the platforms, the relationships, the recognition. And you wonder why not me? Why not now? But what you may not see is that timing isn't just about availability. It's about alignment. You could force something to happen before it's time, but if all the pieces aren't in place, if your spirit isn't ready or the environment can't sustain you, it will fall apart. And not only might you lose it, you could lose yourself in the process. Delay gives space for refinement. It allows you to gain clarity on your calling. It invites you to question your motives. Are you chasing the outcome, or are you devoted to the purpose? Are you willing to wait for what's right, or will you settle for what's immediate? Sometimes delay is the only thing standing between you and a destructive decision. You think it's rejection, but it's redirection. You think it's being withheld, but it's being withheld for your good. That dream, that opportunity, that relationship, it's not gone. It's growing. And so are you. When something is denied, it's taken off the table. But when something is delayed, it's placed in a safe space until the time is right. It's held with care until you're able to receive it fully. Not out of desperation, but out of readiness. Sometimes we chase things because we think they'll complete us. We're convinced that the job, the platform, the person, or the breakthrough will finally give us peace. But anything you reach for to feel whole will eventually disappoint you if you haven't done the inner work. Delay gives you time to heal, time to grow into wholeness, time to become someone who doesn't need the blessing to feel worthy, but someone who can receive the blessing and not let it define their worth. That's why you don't want what isn't meant for you, and you definitely don't want it before you're prepared. When you let go of your timeline and trust, divine timing Peace enters your process. You stop competing. You stop comparing. You start focusing. You begin to see the value in your current season. And instead of asking, why is this taking so long? You begin to ask, what is this trying to teach me? That shift is everything. It's the moment your heart matures beyond entitlement and begins to embrace purpose. Because purpose is never rushed, it's revealed. You were never forgotten. You were never overlooked. You were being kept. Think about that. Kept in safety, kept in process, kept in grace. So when the moment finally arrives, when the door opens, when the blessing shows up, when the opportunity calls, you don't just step into it unprepared. You step into it with depth, with stability, with vision, and you carry it not with arrogance, but with gratitude. Because you know what it cost to get there. You know what it meant to wait. And that waiting season, it wasn't wasted. It was working. It was doing something in you that instant success never could. It was removing the need for validation. It was teaching you how to stand alone. It was proving to you that you are enough, even without the thing you thought you needed to feel enough. That kind of strength only comes through delay. That kind of clarity only comes through time. So the next time you feel like life is putting you on pause, remember, it's not a stop sign. It's a reset, a recalibration, a moment to align, to learn, to build. It's the grace of delay, not to hurt you, but to hold you. Because what's meant for you is not gone. It's not forgotten. It's simply not yet. And when the moment comes, you'll understand. Delayed was never denied. It was just being saved for the right you in the right time. Vision is a powerful thing. It's more than just a dream or an idea. It's a glimpse into what's possible, a revelation of where you're headed, of who you could become, of what you could do. But here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Vision without maturity can be dangerous. Because seeing the future is one thing. Being ready to carry the weight of that future is another. And some visions are too heavy for an unready soul. That's why maturity isn't just important. It's essential. It's what turns a good idea into a legacy. It's what makes the difference between a moment and a movement. Sometimes, God gives you a glimpse of something that's meant for you, but He doesn't give it to you all at once. Not because He's teasing you, but because He knows that your character has to catch up to your calling. He shows you enough to give you direction, but not so much that you skip the development. Because if He gave it all to you at once, you'd either misuse it, mishandle it, or run from it. Vision requires strength, not just in your hands, but in your heart. You have to be able to see it, but also withstand it. You might think you're ready because your desire is strong. But maturity isn't measured by how badly you want it. It's measured by how deeply you can sustain it. Can you remain faithful when nothing is happening? Can you be trusted with power without letting it corrupt your purpose? Can you carry influence without becoming addicted to attention? These are the things maturity teaches you. And they don't come through success. They come through waiting, through failing, through starting over, through staying the course when it would be easier to quit. Vision is not a shortcut to success. It's an invitation to grow. And growth is rarely comfortable. It requires humility to admit that you don't know everything. It requires discipline to keep working when there's no applause. It requires obedience to stay aligned when nobody's watching. That's maturity. It's what prepares you for the weight of what you're asking for. Because make no mistake, vision will cost you. It will stretch you. It will challenge every weak place inside you. And that's not a punishment. That's grace. You have to understand that vision isn't just about what you do. It's about who you become while doing it. Because God doesn't just care about outcomes. He cares about integrity. You could build something impressive in the eyes of the world, but if it breaks you in the process, it's not success, it's sabotage. That's why vision comes in stages. That's why clarity unfolds with time. Because some things you're praying for would actually harm you if they arrived too soon. The more mature you become, the more you realize that not everything good is good for you right now. Timing is critical, not just so the vision can flourish, but so you can. You don't give a sword to a child, even if it's their inheritance. You wait until they've learned how to wield it responsibly. The same is true with purpose. You may have a calling, a gifting, a unique voice, but if you don't develop the maturity to carry it, you'll either waste it or worse, weaponize it. That's why God delays the full vision. Not to deprive you, but to develop you. When you mature, your vision becomes clearer, not just outwardly, but inwardly. You stop chasing recognition. You stop needing approval. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's timeline. And suddenly, you can see what matters. You can see what to focus on, what to let go of, what to build, and what to walk away from. You stop being driven by ego and start being led by wisdom. You're not just reacting to life. You're responding with purpose. That's the power of a matured vision. So if you feel like you've seen glimpses of something greater, but it hasn't fully arrived yet, don't get discouraged. That's not a sign to quit. It's a sign to grow. Every day you choose character over shortcuts. Every time you choose discipline over comfort. Every time you stay committed when it's hard. That's maturity forming. That's your capacity expanding. That's you becoming someone who doesn't just see the vision, but is strong enough to sustain it. When you're ready, the vision won't overwhelm you. It'll meet you, and you'll walk in it, not as someone still trying to prove their worth, but as someone who has become the kind of person that vision was always meant for. And in that moment, you'll know this is what all the growth was for. There's a sacred kind of strength that's formed when you walk through life, not knowing when things will change, but choosing to believe they still will. It's not a loud strength. It doesn't boast or brag. It's quiet, consistent, and deeply rooted in trust. Trust not in outcomes, not in predictions, but in timing, in divine timing. Because when you truly begin to understand timing, when you stop measuring your life by clocks and calendars and start aligning it with purpose, you begin to see that what looks like delay is actually design. That not getting what you want right now doesn't mean you're forgotten. It means something is being formed that's worth waiting for. And most of the time, that something is you. You see, we get so fixated on results that we overlook the importance of readiness. We want the thing, the moment, the breakthrough, but rarely ask ourselves, am I really ready to hold this? Because the weight of what you want will reveal the depth of who you are. Success, influence, even love, they all come with weight. And if you're not grounded, they can uproot you. That's why timing is divine. It isn't accidental. It's a form of protection. It's God saying, I see what you want, but I also see what you don't yet know about yourself. Let's work on that first. It's hard though. Waiting feels like silence. Like maybe your prayers went unnoticed. Like maybe you missed your shot. But what you don't realize in that moment is that the silence is where God often does his best work. Not in the noise, not in the rush, but in the stillness where distractions fall away and only the truth remains. And in that place, you're not just waiting, you're being refined. You're being shaped into the person who won't just receive the promise, but will know how to handle it. That takes time. That takes trust. That takes surrender. Surrender isn't giving up. It's letting go of control so something greater can take over. It's saying, even if I don't understand the when, I trust the why. Because the timing of your life is not a mistake. There's a rhythm to it, a process. There are moments when the soil has to rest before it can grow anything. There are seasons where nothing seems to be happening above ground, but underneath, the roots are spreading. That's where the real work happens. That's where your foundation is laid. And you won't always see the progress. But trust me, it's there. The truth is, you don't want a premature blessing. You don't want a promise that arrives before you're steady enough to protect it. You don't want to be pushed into a moment that your character can't sustain. It might look good on the outside, but if you're not ready, it'll leave you broken. Because what's worse than not getting what you want is getting it before you're prepared and losing it. That's why divine timing says wait. But to prepare you, preparation doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means the right things are happening in the right order. It means there are lessons you still need to learn, habits you need to build, healing you need to experience, and wisdom you need to gain. All of these are things that success can't teach you, but time can. Stillness can. Obscurity can. The quiet days when no one is watching can. That's where strength is forged. That's where authenticity grows. That's where you discover not just your gift, but your identity. And when it finally happens, when the thing you've been waiting for enters your life, you won't just be grateful for the blessing. You'll be grateful for the timing. You'll look back and say, now I understand. You'll see how the delay was never a detour. It was divine orchestration. Every no, every pause, every door that didn't open, it all led you here, not just to the moment, but to the maturity required to live in it fully. Without fear, without doubt, without losing yourself. So keep going. Keep showing up. Keep trusting, because you won't miss what's meant for you. Not if you keep growing. Not if you keep becoming. It may take longer than you expected, but it will arrive right on time. And when it does, you'll realize you weren't just waiting on it. It was waiting on you. On the version of you that's finally ready to receive, protect, and honor it. And that changes everything. You were never meant to chase validation. That deep desire to be seen, to be approved, to be affirmed. It's human. But when your identity is tied to how others see you, you give them power they were never meant to hold. And that's the danger of not knowing who you are when your time comes. Because if you haven't built your identity in truth, success will only amplify your insecurities. One compliment will lift you too high. One critique will crush you too low. You will be constantly reacting because your worth is dependent on something fragile, something external, something temporary. But real preparation for what's coming doesn't just teach you skills. It teaches you identity. It roots you. It strips away the false labels, The ones that say you're only valuable if you're performing, if you're producing, if you're praised. That's not identity. That's performance. And performance will burn you out because you'll never feel like enough. There's always someone doing more, someone being celebrated louder, someone with more reach, more attention, more everything. And if you're not careful, you'll mistake their spotlight for your failure. But someone else's moment is not your loss. It's just not your time yet. And that's okay. Identity work happens in the dark, in the quiet, in the spaces where no one is clapping. It happens when you're overlooked, when you're misunderstood, when you feel like the best of you is hidden. And in that space, you're faced with a question: who am I if no one sees me? If you can answer that with confidence and clarity, then you're being prepared not just for success, but for sustainability. Because you'll no longer need the moment to tell you who you are. You'll bring your identity into the moment, and that makes all the difference. Think about this. If the only reason you want the platform is to be seen, then what happens when the lights go off? If the only reason you want the opportunity is to prove something, then what happens when no one's watching anymore? That's why identity must come before visibility, before platform, before promotion. Because visibility without identity will break you. You'll start changing yourself to fit into spaces you were never meant to be in. You'll say yes to things that don't align with your values. You'll compromise your peace for applause. And slowly, you'll lose the very essence of who you are. But when you know who you are, when your identity is grounded in something deeper, something sacred, something unshakable, you won't be moved by every opinion. You won't be swayed by every trend. You'll walk into rooms with your feet planted and your head high, not because you're arrogant, but because you're anchored. You'll stop performing and start being. And people will feel that. They'll respect that. Because authenticity can't be faked. It can't be replicated. It's magnetic. And it comes from knowing your worth before the world ever tells you what it is. There's a difference between popularity and purpose. One fades. One fulfills. One depends on how well you're liked. The other depends on how well you're aligned. And alignment requires you to know what you stand for, what you believe in, what you carry. That doesn't come from chasing attention. It comes from choosing growth, from choosing stillness when the world tells you to hustle, from choosing truth when the world tells you to perform. So let this be your reminder. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The right moment, the right opportunity, the right people, they'll recognize you when they see you. And you won't have to beg. You won't have to force it. You won't have to shrink or shout or pretend. You'll just show up as you are, fully whole, fully grounded, fully aware of what you carry. And because you know your worth, you'll be able to walk away from anything that doesn't honor it. That's the power of identity before visibility. It keeps you from being swallowed by success. It protects you from selling out just to be seen. It allows you to walk in your purpose with peace. And when you arrive at the place you've been praying for, you'll know you didn't become someone else to get there. You'll know you didn't trade your truth for applause. You'll know, I didn't just reach this. I stayed myself on the way. And that kind of success, that kind of peace, that's what lasts. There's something sacred about the unseen season. The stretch of time when it feels like your efforts go unnoticed, your voice unheard, your presence unacknowledged. It's frustrating. It can even feel unfair. But what if I told you that the unseen season is one of the most powerful spaces you'll ever grow through? Because it's in the shadows, not the spotlight, where your roots go deep. It's in the background, not the stage, where your strength is forged. And though it may not feel like it now, being unseen is not the same as being unvalued. It's actually a sign that something sacred is happening, something that can't be rushed. You see, the world will try to convince you that visibility equals value. That if people aren't clapping for you, your work must not matter. That if you're not constantly posting, proving, and performing, then you're falling behind. But that's not truth. That's noise. And if you listen to it long enough, you'll start rushing a process that was never meant to be rushed. You'll start trying to be seen before you're fully formed. And what gets revealed before it's ready often ends up being destroyed. In the unseen season, you're not just being hidden, you're being held by purpose, held by preparation, held by grace. There are lessons being etched into your spirit that you'll need when the platform comes. There are habits being shaped that will sustain you when the pressure rises. And there's character being built that fame, success, or recognition can never give you. Because what's being developed in the dark is what will keep you grounded in the light. Think of a seed. It spends most of its life beneath the surface, buried in darkness. But that doesn't mean it's lifeless. In fact, that's where the real transformation happens. The roots grow first, quietly, invisibly. But those roots are everything. They determine the strength, the reach, and the longevity of the plant above. Without deep roots, it would collapse under the weight of its own growth. That's why the unseen season is not punishment. It's preparation. It's protection. But let's be honest, being unseen doesn't feel good. It tests your confidence. It challenges your patience. It forces you to ask yourself hard questions. Why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? Would I still show up with the same passion if nobody ever clapped? And that's exactly the point. The unseen season refines your motives. It purifies your why. Because if your work only has value when it's praised, then your worth is fragile. But when you learn to value the process, the craft, the growth, even when no one's watching, you become unshakable. You don't need a stage to be significant. You don't need an audience to have impact. Some of the most powerful shifts in your life will happen when no one sees them. When you decide to heal, to forgive, to grow, to keep going. Not because anyone told you to, but because something inside you knows this is who you're becoming. That kind of progress doesn't need permission. It just needs consistency. It needs courage. And it needs time. And when the time comes, when the world finally catches up to what you've been building in silence, you won't have to fake anything. You won't be scrambling to become someone you're not. You'll already be whole, already steady, already prepared. Because the unseen season taught you how to show up fully, even when no one saw you. It taught you how to stay rooted in identity, not in attention. And when the light hits, you won't be blinded by it. You'll walk in it with clarity, with grace, with the quiet confidence of someone who knows, I didn't just appear, I was prepared. So don't resent this season. Don't rush it. Let it work in you. Let it grow you. Let it teach you. Because what you're building now, when no one's watching, is what will sustain you when everyone is. The unseen season isn't a waiting room. It's a workshop. And you're not falling behind. You're being formed. You're not being overlooked. You're being overbuilt. Quietly, intentionally, divinely. One day the moment will come. The doors will open. The platform will appear. And the world will say, where did they come from? But you'll know the truth. You were never missing. You were just maturing. And when it's your time to be seen, you won't just be visible. You'll be ready.